it's kind of interesting because this clutch had basically roughly 3 different hatchling sizes, and there was some definite influence versus Jamp versus mainland versus Philippine, but there was a huge difference in size. Now these animals have all eaten; they've all had, they're all gone into their second shed, but there was a major difference in sizes. So. And hatchling size really is an indication of necessarily adult size. Specific island groups, you know, from like Jampia, that area, tend to have very small hatchlings, but they don't necessarily, especially Jamps, don't necessarily stay super small comparative to their hatchling size. So let me throw a couple of these guys on the scale. Yeah, it's zeroed out. So here's one of the larger ones. So that's a little over 100. Here's one of the smaller ones that's biting me. That one's only, what, 57? So that's a huge difference. So we got 57, 100, and here's more of a middle-sized one. 77. So you got these, you got a 100% basically increase on these two, and then this one in the middle is 77. So and that's interesting to see because specifically because of that discussion and how this or that stays smaller, and you know, it's not necessarily an indication, and there's no indication that this snake, the smallest one here, won't get larger than this, because this one has a little bit more influence on the back pattern of mainland and Jamp. Nice side colorations, but this smallest one, this has really high influence from the Philippine, and I'll show you a pure Philippine hatchling here in a minute. So I mean, so that's worth taking into consideration. Now the pattern color Philippine, size Jampia, and it's only 25%. So you can see how much influence just 25% Jampia had on hatchling size. Now here is a pure Phil. And this snake has had 3 sheds, well, 2 sheds. So it hasn't really grown much since a hatchling, but it has grown some. But you can tell it's significantly larger than that platinum cross that had the Philippine look and more of a Jampia hatchling size. So we'll throw this one on the scale. Now of course this is going to be a little bit heavier than it was when it hatched, but it's really not that much larger. So you're at almost 180, 178. So, I mean, that's a giant difference but similar pattern, similar color influence on one trait, on pattern, and a totally different influence on hatchling size from another locality. So that's, you know, that's worth mentioning. And the adults that produce this are significantly smaller than the female platy Jamp that produced the platinum babies. She's a 50%er, and I ran the same Philippine male to the Philippine female as I did the platinum Jamp. So the snakes I just show you are 50% related to this snake, and there's a giant difference in size. But as I said, the adults on this, the female Philippines maybe 9.5, 10 foot, whereas the platy Jamp is, I don't know, looking at her, she's probably 11.5, maybe 12 even. And because of that locality, at only 25% Jampia blood, it still made significantly smaller babies on a portion of the clutch, and even the other portion that were larger, still significantly smaller babies than the pures. And the end result is roughly a slightly smaller snake slash maybe the same size on average as adults. The southern Philippines typically are in that 9 to 14 foot range. Here are some giant babies. These are 25% Bali. Nice big healthy haven't even had their first shed. Now they're going to be a little heavy because of the water weight, the egg yolk weight, but as you can see, it's 180 plus. So after it loses that weight, it'll probably drop 10 grams. So you're looking at 170 actual weight with no food in it after a shed. So I'm actually excited to see what these guys do. I bred it to a striped lavender female that popped out of a clutch randomly, and then I had this bally het male that had totally different colors than anything else in the clutch, and I was expecting to get more striped animals. I didn't really get any striping, but I did have a couple of them reproduce the actual color of that goofy looking bally het. So it's probably hard to see because they're in a shed, but this one specifically and this one here. So I'll take more videos and pics of them once they shed out.